Okay, shit. Let's see, how do I get out of this? Okay. Yeah, if you go to evaluate, you can do a costing on this part. Takes place over here and over here. Alright, the goddamn thing crashed on me again. Anyway, the recovery manager, kicked in, so, but, anyway, I'd already saved my thing. So, let's try to do this costing thing again. I mean, because it worked on me already. Okay, there we go. Okay, let's choose aluminum alloys, and I guess this will set the material to aluminum. 6061 is fine. That's the thickness of the part. Estimated cost, let's see. Okay, 761. Now, you can, you got various settings here. You can use a sheet metal template or machining template. So, you choose machining template, you can assign various costs to some of these items, and slot feature recognition, quilt finishing type, roughing, semi-finishing, and finishing. You can save it as default, but I'm just going to leave it at that point. Cancel it. And you can go in and launch a template editor. Now, you can set it to metric or whatever, and come in, look at the material properties. So they got, custom materials, Solidworks material, etc. So selections are limited in these samples. You can go put costing data in for, various materials, titanium, steel, etc. So why is it listing the same? I wonder what this means. I mean, was it listing the same thing in multiple costs for the same type of material? I don't quite understand that, but the point is you can edit any of those values. I don't know if you can change this, though. This, I don't know what this is supposed to mean. Filters all. They don't really have much in here, but then you got various cutting methods, including water jet and plasma, laser, punch, drill, etc. And length cut methods, all lengths. But you can just sort them by like water jet. How much do they charge per millimeter or what have you. And you got extra cost factors that you can build into it. But you'd have to set all this shit up, and most people wouldn't have access to this kind of data unless it's available out there on the internet. I don't know. But you got these, bend allowances, bend costs and so forth, so they can, you can set bend properties for various materials and bend costs. Again, if you happen to know what they're, if you're manufacturing this yourself, it makes more sense because then you can assign costs to it, and have it actually be the cost of a fabrication operation. If you did time motion studies on all this shit and wanted to fill out your own tables, I assume you could. And you got finishing operations and various things you can add too. Click to add. So anyway, but that's pretty slick. And then if you go scrolling down this thing, it gives you the material costs and the bounding box, which you can preview in the window if you want. And it gives you an offset, which is an offset for the bounding box, so you can increase the size of it, above and beyond, the material, because there's going to be wastage. But they can give you, a percentage of scrap, but it's still not very. I don't know what the fuck that is. That's cut off there. But collect the lot size, number of pieces, and then you can actually add markups or discounts if you want. Like let's say 5%. So, but at any rate, you have these, it saves the previous version, and you can see that these, things that I did, like increasing the outline and so forth, increase the price, but you can also, change it to, custom area, custom sheet size. This might come in handy. But at any rate, you can change the material type, and of course the fucking scroll wheel doesn't work with this. But if we go to steel, it's a little cheaper than making it out of aluminum, as you can see here. And if you go over here, it can actually tell you what the cost per step is. So you got laser setup, cut paths, the bending, operations that would be conducted, and like the vent, we need costs assigned to that. And custom operations, we didn't have anything assigned to that. So at any rate, it's a pretty cool little tool if you wanted to set everything up. But again, if you're dealing with an outsourced manufacturer, it might be kind of hard to actually, because you wouldn't be privy to what their calculations were, but you might be privy to some of it. They might tell you, for example, how much cost per bend they might charge, etc. So you might be able to fill some of these data in, but you're not likely to have a whole table unless you've been doing business with a vendor for a whole bunch of time and a whole bunch of different parts. Again, unless they have these tables custom published out there so that you can put that into your spreadsheets, but I don't know how many people would actually do that. Again, it's more handy if you're the manufacturer. So if you're in the sheet metal business, okay, great. Or if you have your own sheet metal equipment and you're doing it in-house, then I can see it being maybe useful, because then you can kind of develop a table based on, formulas and so forth, and figure all that shit out. And again, I assume there's some kind of table format. And by the way, they do have the ability to generate a custom report in Excel or whatever, but it won't do it because my Excel is too old. But it doesn't seem to bitch when I'm editing tables and design tables and shit. But at any rate, it's kind of a cool little thing. I don't know if this would do this for solid parts. It seems like it did, but I'm not sure, because this certainly pertains to sheet metal only. So I don't know if they have a version that applies to solid parts, machined parts, that sort of thing. I guess I can go find out. Well, it looks like they do. They got, drill, machine, machine centering, same kind of cut stuff with the other thing, but now we got mill parameters we can add into it, drilling parameters, so yeah, I mean, they can do costs on this stuff too. Library features, custom costs for mill inspection, painting, etc. So that's pretty slick. Yeah, I mean, see, this is the bounding blocks on this pulley. So, you can set the material. Let's go ahead and set it to aluminum. No cost assigned, but you can see the cost breakdown. It's saying about 35 bucks for this part in unit lots of 100, and if I go down to like 20 of them, it increases the cost by that much. But in practice, that probably would increase the cost. Now, if you're buying it from somebody, 20 versus 100 is going to be a much different price. It looks like you can enter a shop rate on it. And of course, markup discount. So yeah, it's a pretty slick little program in that sense. Again, if you dick with all this stuff, you can probably develop pretty accurate estimates. You have to generalize on a lot of things, but I can see that being useful. So preview stock. I don't know, because like I said, it looks like some of this shit's being cut off. I'm not sure. That's, yeah, definitely. That's a little bug. But at any rate, it's still pretty slick. So, and you got the same little options here, I guess, except that it doesn't give you any, you can't select one of these, so you can just select from this list, roughing and semi-finishing, etc. Because these are the costing options, so you can set these changes you've made to the costing settings require the entire part to be recosted. This could result in loss of custom changes. Fuck it, I'm not that interested in it. Anyway, I'll go ahead and save it, and let me get out of that. See, where is it? Oh, right there. Okay. But anyway, it's a pretty cool little thing. So, I can see it being potentially useful, for certain situations, depending on how much of that kind of crap you do, and, etc. But especially if you're doing it in-house.